Welcome back. This is So I Was Told, the podcast where we break down the things that shape us: mental health, life shifts, and the little details that hold more meaning than we sometimes realize. Today, we're going to talk about something that a lot of people have overlooked. But if you're anything like me, you've been craving this: daylight savings time. That extra hour of sunlight we just gained, that's not just a time change. I think it's a shift in energy, mood, and possibility. And listen, before we get into the science and the practical ways to make the most of this shift, I gotta be real with you. Well, you probably already know, but aside from the holidays, I don't really like winter, mainly because it's always harder for me mentally to sustain a happy mentality or a joyful mentality. I often find myself really struggling with seasonal depression, and this year in particular has just felt harder than ever almost. I don't know if it was just me, but it's like I've been moving through molasses or tar, or I don't know, even sinking through quicksand, but instead of quickly, incredibly slowly. I hate waking up in darkness. I hate finishing work in darkness. And then somewhere in between all of that, I'm supposed to find the energy to be fully functioning human. It's not easy. There's days where I literally sit outside and try to soak up as much of whatever sun there is before I go into work, or as I'm just coming out of work, depending on my shift, because my body is just begging for it. I know that light isn't just something we see, but something we feel, you know? And I'm just super happy that now that that extra hour has come, we get a little more of it. And that really matters. So today, we're diving into why this extra daylight savings is such a big deal. What it does to your brain and your body is pretty significant. And I think there are some ways that we can use this shift to our advantage. If this episode resonates with you, I'd love it if you sent it to someone who needs a little more light in their life. All right, let's get into it. So let's start with some honesty. Winter is heavy. I don't even live in a Midwest or an Eastern state where it snows. It's freaking 60 degrees and above like 80% of the year here. But even if you love the cold, there's no denying that the shift it brings, the shorter days, the longer nights, the constant I should be in bed feeling, even though it's only 5 p.m., it changes everything: our mood, our motivation, our energy. And for a lot of people, it's not just an inconvenience, it's exhausting. So, why is that? Well, scientifically speaking, less sunlight equals less serotonin. What is serotonin? It helps regulate our mood. More darkness means more melatonin. What does melatonin do? Gets our body ready for bed, slows us down, makes us feel sluggish. Cold weather? Well, cold weather I actually like. As I always say, it's always easier to warm yourself up than it is to cool yourself down, at least here in California. But cold weather equals less movement, less socializing, more isolation. I can imagine where it gets colder, at least here in the States, you don't really want to go through the effort of putting on a million layers to go somewhere. That's at least how I think it is. And here, the coldest it gets really, it's like 40 some degrees during the day, if it even does at all. But even that makes me not want to go anywhere and just stay inside and be warm. Even if you don't have full-blown seasonal affective disorder, winter can take its toll. And this year, it felt extra brutal. It felt like every day was just a checklist to get through rather than something to actually experience. But now, I feel like the world is stretching out again. And we can either treat it like nothing happened, or we can embrace the fact that we are stepping into something lighter, literally and metaphorically. All right, so we know winter drains us, but why does more sunlight fix that? Is it just a placebo, Or is there actual science behind this? I used to think sunlight didn't make a big difference in my life. Being someone born and raised in California, the sun is around all year long. Like, yeah, it's nice, but I thought my energy levels were just my problem. Then one winter afternoon, a few months ago, I remember sitting in my room just completely drained, unmotivated, didn't want to do anything. Like that kind of tired where your body feels like cement. And then, out of nowhere, the sun actually came out for the first time all day. It was like, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes. But in those 10 minutes or so, I felt it. I physically felt my body wake up, my head clear. And I suddenly wanted to get up and move. I wanted to do something. And that's when it hit me. This isn't just mental. Sunlight literally changes how we function. As I said earlier, in the darkness, less sunlight equals less serotonin. Therefore, more sunlight equals more serotonin. It's not that hard to put two and two together. We get a boost of mood and energy. We get to fight our depression. My psychiatrist literally recommended me this year that I buy a light box. She told me about light therapy and how it's a legitimate form of treatment for those with seasonal depression. Now, I've yet to buy a light box just because, well, I haven't gotten around to it. But I do intend to. Just maybe I'll wait till next year. Okay, so let's talk about better sleep cycles. This one I feel like not a lot of people truly understand. But when we have inconsistent sleep cycles, that is, when we go to bed at different times and we wake up at different times, we screw up our circadian rhythm. I don't know if you've ever heard of that before. For some reason, it makes me think of cicadas, whatever you call them. But essentially, it's this internal rhythm that we have in our bodies, in our brains, that is supposed to sync up with the rising of the sun, the setting of the sun. And this rhythm, when we keep it consistent, when we keep it balanced, our melatonin levels get regulated, our energy levels become regulated, and it's much easier for us to wake up feeling energized, as well as it is easier for us to wind down and actually go to sleep. But when we lose that hour of sleep, when the days get shorter, the nights get longer, we become more inundated with blue light, with the light from our TV screens, from our artificial lights, from our phones. And it's really hard for our bodies to actually understand that we're supposed to be relaxing instead of continuing to work. And so our brains want to keep doing something while our bodies are trying to actually wind down. So those extra hours of light that we now get to look forward to moving forward means easier sleep cycles to adapt to, more sunlight, which is more serotonin. And the third thing, more sunlight means more movement, more socialization. When it's still light out, we're actually more likely to go outside. We're actually more likely to exercise. We're actually more likely to do social things. Maybe some of you have mastered that all year round. As someone like me who struggles with intense social anxiety, it's really hard for me to find any motivation once the sun goes down to do anything other than be in my own room and, I don't know, watch TV, edit videos, edit podcasts. But this time around, I'm actually legitimately excited about spending a few more hours in that sun. See, sunlight isn't just aesthetic. It's actually a medicine. And now we're going to get more of it. So the question, I think now, is what do we do with that? What do we do with this medicine? How do we use this extra hour to our advantage? And then as spring comes in and summer soon thereafter, how do we take advantage of the many hours in the day? I think there are 5 simple ways we could really benefit from these extra hours of sunlight. Here's number 1. Reclaim outdoor time. Even if it's just 10 minutes, step outside, sit in the shade, sit in the sun, don't look at your phone. I mean, it's fine if you really have to, but just try to sit outside and just take it all in. Let yourself be bored for 10 minutes. See where that takes you. Number 2, let the light in. If you work from home, if you are a creative person and your main media of creativity is your laptop or phone or tablet, move your workspace near a window. Open up your blinds. Let the light in. Number 3, use these extra hours as a reset button. Reflect on what you want this next season to be about. Use this time to be introspective. Number 4, reconnect with people. Meet a friend, go on an evening walk with somebody, grab coffee, go hiking, visit a garden. Use those extra hours of daylight to carve out some time with those you consider friends. Maybe you have a partner, significant other. Maybe you just have your family. Be intentional. Step away from the TV for a couple hours. Go to a park, swing on the swings, throw a baseball. I don't know. There's a million things to do outside. This is my personal favorite. Number 5, romanticize your evenings. I hate when people are like, stop romanticizing things. And I get that social media, we romanticize everything. And I get it. We should be online with a level of discernment to know that not everything we look at is actually real life. A lot of it is staged. A lot of it is brushed up. A lot of it is over exaggerated because everybody wants to feel like they're whimsical or magical or some sort of space that elevates them to the point where you need to be just like them. Still, that doesn't negate the fact that it's a wonderful thing to romanticize. Life freaking sucks, dude. There's so much stacked against us and everything is so tiring. I feel like romanticization really creates some wonderful nostalgic memories. Even though the moment might not seem magical or romantic, it doesn't mean that you can't interpret it that way. Dude, buy a picnic blanket, buy a beach towel, lay that sucker out on the grass, go to the beach, stretch out, do some yoga in the park, go for a long drive on the scenic route, sit on a park bench, bring a book with you, find quiet moments, go painting. Do all of those things you see online that you think, wow, how beautiful, how whimsical, how romantic, how magical. Do it. It might not feel like it in the moment, but to be honest, you're going to look back at those moments and wish you had more of those. Don't you remember what it was like when you were a kid during spring break or summer vacation when the sun stayed up so late? It felt like you had endless time to play outside. I don't know, maybe I'm talking to a lot of Gen Z here, but as a millennial, as much as I hate to use that phrase, there was a period of time that I grew up before technology was so immersive where, our Game Boy Advance or Game Boy SP or Nintendo DS, whatever portable systems we had, they ran on short batteries. You couldn't take them out forever. We didn't have smartphones to the degree that we do now where we could just endlessly be connected. At some point as kids, I mean, at least if you had parents like I did, we had to actually go outside and do something. And looking back, those are some of my favorite memories. Being outside with my siblings, just making up random stuff. I remember one of the things I used to love to do was like build like insect villages in my backyard. I would make I remember one particular memory that I have and hold quite fondly. I made something called like Spider Island where like my brother and I we dug this like moat around this land in the backyard and we filled it with water and then we like looked for spiders everywhere and we put them in the middle and then we would grab like random like bugs that we would find under rocks, put them in the middle, and we would just like revel in this godlike power that we thought we had. Those were some awesome memories. I mean, sure, maybe it wasn't great for the insects that we disturbed, but that doesn't prevent those memories from being any less magical. That's what I'm talking about stepping back into. Instead of letting these longer days blur together, claim them. Reclaim your outdoor time. Let your light into your inside spaces. Use this time to reset, to reflect, to plan. Reconnect with people. Make new friends. Start a new hobby. Take up roller skating. I don't know. Go running. Take up gardening. Romanticize the hell out of everything. Sit with that for a second. Think about it. Metaphorically, spiritually, whatever. The light is coming back. Days are stretching out, and so is my capacity to feel, to connect, to live beyond just surviving. And believe me, in the last 2 weeks of my life, it feels like all I've been doing is surviving. And well before that, to be honest with you. We all know that January felt like half a year. February even though it's the shortest month of the year, for me felt like forever. And this year, 2025, I came into it with like so much energy. Like, yes, I'm going to start eating more healthy. I'm going to keep up my physical fitness. I'm going to keep on improving, keep on nailing things, hitting goals. I haven't done any of that. I have not kept up with it. For the first time in over a year, I've stopped going to the gym for over 7 days. And that doesn't sound like a lot. Some of you are like, oh, wow, I wish I could even just go to the gym for 1 day a week. But I had set habits into place over the last year that I was really proud of myself. And in a moment, all of that was derailed. Something happened to me, and all of that was derailed. Depression took over. My emotions erupted. The numbness kicks in. Hopelessness engulfs me. And every day was spent just trying to survive. What's funny is I had no idea that today, Sunday, March 9th, daylight saving time, was going to be as significant as it was. In fact, I actually forgot that we were supposed to move our clocks forward until Saturday, where, a customer had mentioned it to me offhandedly. And I was like, oh, shoot. No, not Saturday. Sorry, Friday. I was like, oh, shoot. That's this Sunday already? And my initial thought was, oh, I'm going to lose an hour of sleep. I mean, I didn't really think much of it until the day of. And I was like, wait a second. It just so happened to be a very warm day, 74 degrees. And I woke up and it was bright outside. And then today at work, I clocked out and it was still bright outside. And I was thinking, it was a slow day today. And I was thinking while I'm at work, looking out of these large windows, seeing the sun shining all day, which God, I'm so thankful for. It could have been a gloomy day today. And I could have been depressed as hell as always. But for whatever reason, today was beautiful. And though I didn't feel beautiful, or though I didn't feel fine or feel happy, I had like a 5 out of 10 day. Like, I'm going to be honest with you. Today I was just floating by, trying to keep my mind straight. But instead of gradually feeling my mind weaken and deteriorate with the setting of the sun, it didn't. I was able to sustain myself and spend a lot of time today thinking about that extra hour, thinking about how the day is going to get longer. And I never quite fully appreciated that all my life. At least I don't remember appreciating that. I feel like I've always taken that for advantage, just kind of accepted it, focused on the loss of the hour, and moved on with the seasons as usual. But this year was just a little different. Maybe it's because I'm going through something particularly hard in my life, and I really needed this. It very well could be. Still, I don't think that it's a coincidence. I think it's beautiful that we have seasons in our lives. I'm from California. We have like 2 seasons. It's like cool summer, hot summer, hell, and then somewhat of an autumn. But it's beautiful still that we can be reminded by simple days such as this that darkness never lasts forever, even when it feels like it will. And when the light does come back, we get to decide what we do with it. So here's my challenge to you as I close out this episode. Will you step into this next season with intention? Use this light to pull yourself forward. Because it's not just an extra hour, it's a reminder that things do change. That heaviness does lift. That heaviness will lift. And even the smallest shifts can be a step towards something better. If this episode resonated with you, send it to someone who needs a reminder that brighter days are coming. Maybe you need to hear this later. And if you find yourself enjoying this podcast, please don't forget to subscribe. I'd really appreciate it if you could leave a review for us and let me know what kind of topics you want to hear next. I really love doing these kinds of episodes. As always, I really appreciate the support you give me by listening to this. I'll see you on the next one.